Hi. So I wanted to do this Dragon Ball Z discussion video. I'll be uploading this after I do a One Punch Man review. After I upload the One Punch Man review. But yeah, I wanted to just get this out of the way real quick. This was inspired by a Twitter combo I had with someone because nothing beats Dragon Ball Z discussion stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, so this is just something I want to talk about. Is Dragon Ball Z a kids show? Is Dragon Ball Z for kids? Is it for adults? Is it more mature? Is it for all ages? Yada 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 and stuff like that. Anyway, there are elements of a show that can be considered kiddie, stuff that can be considered mature. Like then you have, like on one hand, okay, so I think first off we need to establish that what constitutes a kids show in Japan, it isn't exactly the same here in the West. It isn't exactly the same here in America. That's why Dragon Ball Z had to go through some heavy censoring. Dragon Ball Z and Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and all those shows, they had to abide by FCC regulations. Funimation and 4Kids did, and they had to sanitize it to make it more acceptable to a younger audience. Yeah, and just as an example, One Punch Man is considered a seinen in Japan, meaning it's geared towards older audiences. On the other hand, Neon Genesis Evangelion is considered a shonen material, geared towards younger audiences, towards kids and teens on up. Obviously, we in the West have a much different perspective, right? We don't think along those lines. But Japan, for whatever reason, does. Dragon Ball Z is classified as shonen in Japan, meaning it's geared toward Japanese boys aged 8 through 15, late teens possibly. So there's a lot of stuff that would can appeal to kids. There's a lot of humor involved. Fat Boo is certainly a good example of this, as is Mr. Satan. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that, but there's a lot of stuff that some people would consider too adult for a kid's show. You have Roshi hitting on women like hundreds of years younger than him. He hit on Videl too. I was like, wow. And then in like the original Dragon Ball, you have Bulma's titties. You have Kid Goku naked. But it's also more violence in the manga. Stuff like, okay, you know that scene where androids 19 and 20 enter the in the androids arc? Yeah, well, in the anime, Dr. Zero is shown as pulling this guy like out of his car. Remember that scene where the guy was honking at Dr. Zero? He walks up to him and he like pulls his head through the roof, right? In the manga, he rips off that guy's head. Like just like straight up rips it off. Like just so yeah, no, that's not first thing that comes to mind when you think of kids show, huh? There's also a lot more blood and a lot more but it's more detailed in the manga. The violence, Tien getting his arm ripped off by Nappa in the Saiyan arc. It's more detailed in the manga. As is Frieza getting his body sliced off by the destructive, not the destructive discs, the flying saucers, the pizzas. For those who watch TFS, the pizzas that he launched George Goku. All these things are, I mean, obviously there are parents that would say, oh, I'm okay with my kids watching that. But then there are parents who would have a raging fit if they saw that uncut on Toonami and they saw their kids watching that. They would call it Funimation, they would call it the FCC. They'd be like, what the fuck, I don't want my kids watching that. It's ruining it's going to ruin his childhood or whatever. And okay, I don't want to sound like an asshole. Like obviously, if, like there's a good reason why parents wouldn't want their kids watching that. So I don't want to sound like, I don't want to sound like an asshole when I talk about that. But yeah, no. Oh, and contrary to what a lot of people say, see, a lot of people, what annoys me about a lot of people when we talk about Dragon Ball Z Kai, the number one criticism I see for Kai is, oh, it's for kids, and they mention there's no blood, there's no swearing, and they talk about Nicktoons, the Nicktoons version, and they think that's the real version of Kai. I'm like, no, you need to go on to Toonami's website on their Adult Swim block, or AdultSwim.com, whatever, or just any anime streaming website. Just whatever, and you need to watch the uncut version of Kai to see that it is not edited. I'll put the links in the description for those who are skeptical. Dragon Ball Z Kai is not edited, it's not kiddie, it's not dumbed down, okay? So, like, fuck you guys. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, just, just to get your facts straight. Yeah, but all that stuff that I'm talking about, if you were, again, this is kind of going back to my Moscow Nozawa video, where I discuss cultural differences between Japanese and Americans, ways of thinking. Go back to my, go back to my, go back to that video if you're curious. I talk about differences in views of masculinity and stuff like that. This is kind of going back to that video. It's all subjective to the culture you're in, right? So yeah, there's a lot of different ideas of what constitutes a kid show. I think Dragon Ball Z is a kid show in the sense that Batman the Animated Series is a kid show. It has elements that can appeal to kids, but it has a lot of stuff that can appeal to adults too. Obviously, with fighting and stuff like that, and how violent it can get, and the swearing and stuff like that, and Bulma's titties. It pushes the envelope as far as our American understanding of kids shows go. Not the case in Japan. However, I'm kind of going too much on about America versus Japan, stuff like that. So sorry about that. But anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna say, is Dragon Ball Z a kid show? I'm gonna say it's for all ages. I mean, it's like I mean, it has there's a lot of fun stuff in there. There's a lot of humor. Bat Boo, Mr. Satan, the announcer guy has some funny moments too. The Great Saiyan Man. But there's also, that doesn't mean it can't be enjoyed by a much broader audience, and it most certainly is. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think Dragon Ball Z is a kid show? Do you think it's an adult show? Do you think it's for all ages like me? Yeah, no. Don't forget to hit that big old like button, comment, rate, subscribe, all that jazz. So yeah, have a good day, folks. See ya.